Yo, what is good? Welcome back to the channel. It is your boy Bud, and today we're going to be breaking down my Charlie Curnow design. So yes, this is a little bit different compared to what I'm usually doing. I'm still going to continue making previous content, which you guys hopefully do enjoy, but this will be a new series where I break down my designs, and who knows, it may even teach you guys a few tips and tricks. I understand it's not going to be everyone's cup of tea, which is totally fine, but I'm hoping this is going to help some people, progress if they want to learn how to use Photoshop. Like I've said previously, I have no degree or any experience in this. This is all self-taught over many years. So we're over in Photoshop. So first of all, we have our scene. So if we go down, so it is a background, and as you can see, it has the king. So I really wanted, obviously, King Curnow or King Charlie. I wanted him to be the emphasis. So we have our scene. So first of all, we had to add in a staircase. So as you can see here, the bottom section, it originally wasn't there. So we had to include that just to fill out the actual image. From there on, we had to add some lighting, so you're going to see the transition difference here. So a bit more blue, a bit more vibrant. I like using colors, especially in dark scenes. If you can try and use a color or two to use as the lighting, it really emphasizes. And obviously Carlton being blue, I wanted to go with a blue theme. So up here, I just changed the color of the banners. So made them a little bit darker, just because the green, it was sort of sticking out a little bit too much for my liking, so we had to get rid of that. I like to use some lighting, like I said, so through the windows, I brighten things up, put a bit of a blue tint as well. This shadow down here, you'll see why we added that in. That's going to be for the football, but we'll come back to that. The yellow, so with the banners, I was going to add in a Carlton logo, but I decided to go with the Coleman leaderboards over here and Charlie Curnow's accolades over there. So the reason I sort of chose that text was an olden day vibe with that text, so that was the reasoning behind that. And as you can see, the football, we're going to add that in there, but it is obviously very bright, so we had to turn the exposure down so it blends into the scene. And what we did is we just brushed that in, so then it was still light from this window here hitting that side of the football, and as you can see, the blue is going to really touch that off, so it blends into the scene a lot better. And then we add some further lighting to that as well, so a big difference with some haze just to blend it in all together. Over here, I wanted to add in the Carlton logo. What we did is we added in the underlying layer. So if you play around with this, as you can see, I'll zoom in a little bit if I can. Hold on. We'll zoom in here. So if we go into this and we take this all the way down, you'll see the cracks from the actual shield on the logo. If we take this down, it's just going to go to a flat surface. See how it's flat and doesn't show the cracks, which I think if we keep the cracks, it keeps it more realistic. And then we add some effects, so a bevel and emboss, which sort of just makes it look a little bit more into the shield itself. Can't forget King Charlie, so we just put his face on there for now. I'll show you what image I actually use. So if we go into here and then Getty images, good, awesome for quality images. If you want high quality images, use Getty. Make a tutorial in another video how to get rid of that watermark, but it doesn't really bother us today because we're just going to be using his face. So as you can see there, Charlie Curnow, and then that's the face there. So we just crop that out, pretty simple. If you guys need to learn how to do that, it's pretty simple. But yeah, obviously there's Charlie Curnow. And then we had to obviously blend him into the scene. So with exposure, we like to turn the brightness down around his neck just so it blends down a little bit better. Bring his exposure on his face down a lot. And like I said, I just kept the highlights here because there's going to be a bit of lighting from up here and also from this window that's going to hit him. So we don't want his face totally dark because then you're not going to be able to tell who it is. So it's important we keep that. And then some further, like I said, further brightness and exposure just to brighten up underneath his chin. Oh, and I forgot to mention, we're going to have some brightness coming off his jersey, which we'll touch base in a moment. So here is the jersey, so the Carlton jersey. We just cropped that out, so we use that off another image. So we just cropped that out and blended that in underneath the jacket. And then we dropped the exposure on that. And we added a bit of brightness off the Carlton logo. I just wanted to make things a little bit brighter because, like I said, it's going to be a darker scene, but if we can get some lighting here along with the windows, and then we're going to add in a number with some brightness as well, that's going to make things a lot better. We just drew the Coleman strap, or the neck strap, that will be connected to the metal. So as you can see, that's we just put these in place. So I cut out the Coleman metal twice, because obviously he's won it twice, and then just added them in so they're around his neck. We'll do some blending in so it looks a little bit better, but that's that. We added in the drop shadow as well, just because to make it a little bit better. As you can see, that's what it would look like if we just drawn it, but then we added a bevel and emboss, and it gives it a bit more detail. In the number 30 up here, so there is a few effects. We'll take them off. So like I said, just a standard text, number 30. I wanted to get some glow off this, so we added in some effects and then some further glow from there, just to blend it in. I like that lighting. Otherwise, it's going to be a very, very dark scene. Down here, we added in some shadows. So they're the player shadows. And I'll explain why, but you can see other shadowing as well. So around the staircase we added in, just to make things a little bit more darker. Obviously the light coming from here is not going to hit this part of the shadow, this part of the stair, sorry. So we had to make things a little bit darker there. Going into adding in the players. So as we can tell, Larky finished third and Walker second. So we wanted to include these players in. And before I made this, I wanted them to sort of be like kneeling down to Charlie, you know, the king. So we added in a knight, and we actually removed the head of the knight. So we had to, put him in position, and then I added in the North Melbourne logo there, and I also turned down the curves, so obviously a darker scene, dropped the exposure as well with the shadows, and then just brushed around where the light would be hitting, as you can tell. So the light's going to be hitting on this side, just from this scene in itself, if that makes sense. So you'll be able to see the exposure really hits the that side, but not that side, if that makes sense. And then added in the number 20, so Nick Larky's number. Had to play around to blend that in to the actual folds in the cape, I suppose. And then we added in Nick Larky there, and the exposure is on top of that as well. So like I said, it looks out of whack. Doesn't really suit the scene if we don't add the exposure, so we make sure, and that's the light hitting his face there. And then we do the highlights, so the rim highlights to blend him in a bit further. So the blues from this window, further enhancements with that blue, and just blends things in a lot better there. Same thing goes with text, so we add him in. I just duplicated that and faced him the other way. Add in some curves, drop the exposure as well where the light may be hitting. Add in Tex Walker's head, drop his exposure, add his number in, and add in the Adelaide Crows logo as well, and then just do the rim lights with him as well, just to blend him in. Sort of makes sense. And then pretty well, that's the final piece that we have sitting there. And then this is just where we do color correction, a bit of camera raw filter, and some highlights and further shadows. So I like to, like I said, this windows, it's bright, but we can make it a lot more vibrant and really bring out the blues. So that's what I decided to do there. We bring out the blues, and you can just see the big difference there with the haze. And then this is where we add the camera raw filter. So it takes it from this to that, and it's a big step. So I know the smart filters, so I'll just show you that. So if we take these off, so there's 2 layers of camera raw. So we add the first layer, and it sort of just brings everything together. And then the second really brings out the blues and vibrance all together here, which you're going to see, which I feel like it's turned out pretty well. But we're not done there. So what I did notice at the end, so if we zoom in, that text is really like sticking out. And I wanted to blend it in a little bit more, as well as the actual statues around. I wanted to blend them in. So what I did is I duplicated that layer, and I put a Gaussian blur on top of it. And if we zoom in from afar, you're probably not going to tell the difference, but if we zoom in, you'll be able to see it here. And it just blurs things in a little bit better. So I'm going to turn it off again. You can sort of tell, but it just blends things in a lot better, which I like doing. And then the layer, so that's just my name up in the top right hand corner. We also added in some more light, so on the top, just coming through the window. And we did the exact same thing on this side as well. I'm sure you guys would have seen this. So when the light comes in a window, you can sort of see the dust particles floating around. I wanted to sort of have that feel, so that's where I added these dust particles, I suppose, in. And all it was just white particles with a bit of blur on them. and then just add in the bud text. So bud designs down here, as you can see. And last but not least, we added a curves just to make the darks a little bit darker and the highlights a little bit brighter. So that is how we made that. The Charlie Curnow design, or Coleman design, which I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. It was a long process, but we finally did get there. I know there's a lot to unpack from here, but that is the gist of things. I hope you guys did enjoy it. If you guys do want to see a tutorial on what whether it's play retouching or shadows or whatever it may be, let me know down below. But I hope you guys did enjoy this video, and I'll see you in the next one.